Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I'm Daniel.
I'm Chris.
We're your two favorite Star Wars nerds, and we like Star Wars and other nerdy adjacent things.
I feel like favorite might be...
No, we are your favorite. I'm sorry, that was a fact. That was
Okay.
that was not
Right.
that's not, as the kids say, an opinion.
Sure, we'll go with that.
And if we are indeed your favorite, you should make sure to like the stream. Say hi in the chat. We are live. But before we get on to business, we got a lot of business.
Yes.
We have like a ton of
God,
business.
there's so much business.
Thanks to our buddy Connor over at the Star Wars Hub and Star Wars Veritas. Go check them out. It's amazing. It's a lot of fun.
Two very good Facebook pages
Yes.
that you should follow if you're even peripherally interested in
Yes.
Star Wars. Which I
the-
assume if you're watching two nerds
If you're-
at 6 o'clock on a Wednesday,
if this is what you're
probably
doing,
interested in Star Wars.
yeah. If you're not hanging out with your girlfriend and you're hanging out with us instead, well, it's probably your cup of tea.
Yeah.
Right after this, at 7, we're going to be doing a Star Wars: The Battlefront 2. I don't know why I said it like that. Stream where I am finally going to be getting my max level Palpatine, which is funny because I did a little preview stream earlier today to promote the Andor after show, and I was like, "There's no way I'm getting max level Palpatine today," and then I went and like it's going to happen. It's going to be great. And
So Jack Black Boomwhacker time?
oh yeah, I'll have that queued up. Yeah, the Saxa Boom.
Exactly.
Yeah,
There it
yeah.
is.
If you don't know what we're talking about, that's fine.
Don't worry about it.
Show
We'll
up
get
for the
there.
stream. You'll understand. So today we're doing we're gonna talk about one news thing. We're gonna talk a lot about Cassian Andor. We're gonna recap the fuck out of that show, and there will be spoilers abound. We'll do a little mini non-spoilers thing first, because I have a couple of thoughts. And then we'll do spoilers. There will be a clearly marked graphic. And then if we have time at the end, we will do, we'll talk about House of the Dragon. If we don't have time, then whatever we don't have time for will be on the Battlefront stream at 7. So House of the Dragon, She-Hulk, and Rings of Power will all be there. So please feel free to join us for that. What else am I missing? I think
you hit everything.
Yeah, I think so as well. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, comment. This is live. We'll read comments where it's possible.
As we get to them.
So if you have thoughts or other insights about what we're talking about, we would love to hear from you. Because one thing that makes us feel very good about being as nerdy as we are is being surrounded by people who are just as nerdy, and it makes us feel a little bit better. So do us a favor. And what's the news stuff? Oh yeah,
Acolyte.
yeah.
Yes. So Star Wars: The Acolyte is a series that is in pre-production right now, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Turns out they're having more trouble with whatever it is they're doing than they thought, and it's being pushed back. Late 2023, early 2024 is the current estimate.
Yeah, it's
from the rumor mill because nothing's official yet.
Yeah, that's the thing is it is like from the rumor mill, and they haven't promised a release date anyway. I don't think so. Like this could have been the original release date, and we would have no way of knowing.
Yeah.
But it is. I mean, it came from like I think Nerdist was one of the sources that kind of like weighed in on this, and they're actually really reputable. So. It looks like that's probably going to be a little bit of a delay. However, like this is a great month for Star Wars.
Well, we're not hurting for Star Wars.
Yeah, because
like
we've got Andor for a while,
Yes.
and then in exactly 3 weeks, on what is it, the 26th, I think, whatever the 3 Wednesdays from now is going to be Star Wars: Tales of the Jedi, and they had a new poster today that looks fucking awesome. By the way, it looks so good, and I am so stoked for this show because
lightsabers
and young Count Dooku or Jedi Master Dooku, an extremely young Qui-Gon Jinn, who apparently is being voiced by Liam Neeson's son, which I think is really cool.
That's adorable.
Yeah, and they're like different little stories they're doing. So they're doing the Qui-Gon Count Dooku thing, and then they're doing the Ahsoka something else and the Inquisitor thing.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think there was like one other one that they're like kind of getting into. I can't remember. It might just be those two, but I think they're gonna get into some Jedi lore, which I'm like, finally, like give me some Jedi lore. So let's get this going.
Okay.
Because I don't want to run out of time. Because we're going to run out of time.
Yes,
I'm telling you right
always.
now. So real quick, So today was episode 5 of Andor. It was called I can't remember what the name of the episode was.
The Axe Forgets.
Yeah, right. Which is like a little reference to a line later on in the show. Or actually, a really nicely written line, by the way. And this is my big thought about this. One of the reasons that I'm so excited about this show right now is because I know there will be people who are impatient who are like, oh, this show was filler, like not a lot happened. But like, this is how you do character development. When you have a 40-minute episode, you can get into the feelings and the thoughts of different characters and their motivations and why they're doing what they're doing. And you can take time with other things that Star Wars shows recently have not had time to do. Like, for example, in Obi-Wan Kenobi, barely anyone gets any exposition, right? Mm-hmm. Even the Imperial officer spy, like, they develop her a little bit, but she doesn't get the development she deserves, right? And so what I love about Andor is that, like, I'm really starting to care about the characters, all of them, because I'm learning more about them. Even the ISB agent, Deidre, she had some scenes today where you like they kind of build her character up a little bit, and you're like, all right, like I understand that she's convicted to do the things that she does, and I understand, and she wants things, and I kind of want her to have them because I like that character, and they do a good job of developing all the freedom fighters in this little operation that they're about to do, and in fact, I think Cassian probably is the one that got the least character development, even though he gets a little bit, but and I think you made a comment about the main theme being different every time.
Yeah.
And I think that it is. I think every single time it's come up, there's something different about it, which I think is really neat as well.
I'm sure if we were really paying attention and listening to exactly what it was, we could find that it was referring to some other musical cue, but I haven't cared enough to do that yet.
I just think it's kind of neat that it's not just this. It's not like a main credit. It's just, the music throughout has been fantastic, and I've really enjoyed it. Jimmy says, hey, Jedi.
Hello.
So I hear a lot of people saying the show is bad, but I think people need to learn is that there's not much they can do character-wise. A lot of the characters from the Clone Wars era are dead, so they have to bring in new characters, not like Padme or Ki-Adi-Mundi. So I don't think a lot of people are saying it's bad. I don't grant the premise that everyone hates it. I think everyone really likes it. A lot of the feedback I've seen has been really positive. There's going to be a group of people that hate everything that Star Wars does ever. Are they Star Wars fans? I don't know. To me, a Star Wars fan is someone who likes Star Wars. And if someone pins their entire personality on hating Star Wars, can you call them a fan? We're not going to get into that. I don't care. But I think that so far it's been a brilliantly written show. The character development specifically, I love these 40-minute episodes. It's like I get to sit on my fucking chair and not worry about having it like being over 10 minutes in, right?
Yeah.
So
I think there is from a certain point of view, one could criticize the show as being a little bit slow paced, because there's not a ton of action in this most recent episode, and there hasn't been
but they're building because we know
that's the thing,
this tension.
They have these longer episodes, like you were saying. They have a 12 episode season. Like they have the room to expand and stretch and make you care about the characters before all the explosions happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because we know that team's going to take some casualties.
Yes.
Like, you just know. Star Wars Theory said he hates it. Of course, he expects Vader to show up every week. Vader's not going to be in this show. I mean, maybe they'll put him in there, but I do not expect him to be in it. Like, and I don't need him to be in it.
There is zero chance Vader can possibly show up, because, like, it's the issue with, like, Luke in Mandalorian. He just obliterates everything else.
Yeah.
Nothing else matters.
Yeah, that's true. The second the Vader shows up, it's, it's just a black hole of attention. Like, that's what, and I can't imagine why he would be involved, because
they're like in the backwoods of nowhere.
Yeah, even Freedom Fight, like proto rebels or whatever, like he doesn't give a fuck about stuff like that. Like, he's off doing his other shit. He's trying to figure out how to bring Padme back, because we know that he's kind of like doing that shit right now.
Probably
too.
Still hunting down the last of the Jedi. Or
right.
Whatever.
Yeah, he's I think there's a fair chance we'll see Palpatine at some point. Just in like.
In one of the Mon Mothma scenes? Maybe?
Yes, right. Because we know from the trailer there are some scenes in the Senate, though famously Palpatine was not very interested in the day-to-day running of the government.
Sure.
He kind of left that to Masamada and Sly Moore because he wants to be in his dark room and go, ooh, you know. But
he wants to electrocute people and jerk off.
Yeah, if exactly, and if they're gonna do some big cameo from one of the main characters that we know, it'll probably be Palpatine because it's his arena, but it's not gonna be huge. He's not going to be like flipping around shooting lightning or anything. Like it's going to be one of those like he'll tell someone to do something and giggle maniacally, and
in
then
fact,
that'll be it.
There was a reference to Sly Moore in the last
episode. Yes, there was.
At Mr. Mothma's dinner party.
I wonder how that dinner party went, by the way. So let's get into some spoilers. I'm going to put the spoiler warning up. This is your warning. Mm-hmm. I'm going to recap the episode. We're going to spoil it, and.
Like, if you haven't seen it, because it came out today, like, we're not blaming you.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know what your life is like.
Yeah.
But maybe watch it before you watch this.
Yeah. Also, probably, out of the episodes so far, probably my second favorite episode, I think, aside from episode 3. That's the one where they have
That's the one where they leave barracks, yeah.
Yeah. So, Andor season or episode 5, the sun is rising on Deputy Tryhard, right? Yep. And he's so clearly having like a personal crisis, right? And he's sitting there, the sun's shining on his face, and he's like, "I'm at my fucking mom's house. How did it get to this?"
I mean, his career completely fell apart.
Yeah, I know. Which, by the way, we're gonna get into this, but now that I know more about his mom, I totally get why he is the way he is. So his mom feeds him breakfast.
It's fucking blue Cocoa Puffs and blue milk.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yep. And she's like, "Why the fuck are you slouching? You look like a depressed piece of shit. And here's a bowl of cereal with your blue milk." And his mom is kind of a piece of work, right? They're like verbally sparring about shit, about her visiting him, and he's like, "Well, you could have visited," and she's like, "Well, you didn't fucking invite me, so you're a bad son, and I fucking hate you." And like then she starts stabbing him about how he doesn't have any prospects. She's like, "So how many prospects do you have?" He's like,
how many job interviews you got lined up?
A couple maybe." And she's like, "No, you're a lying piece of shit. You have nothing. You're in your mother's house right now." And she's like, "You know what? I'm gonna call him a family favor. I'm gonna call Uncle Harlow." Mm-hmm. And Uncle Harlow is clearly a really important person, right? And Cyril doesn't think that he'll even remember who he is.
I just had a thought. So my sort of crackpot theory.
Qyburn is Uncle Harlow. That's not his name in the show. The Game of Thrones guy, the head of the ISB.
No,
because that's who I thought maybe Uncle Harlow was.
Maybe, yeah. But there's a line later that makes me not think that. Mm. So my crackpot theory is that former Detective Tryhard is going to somehow end up in the rebellion because he seems like like he has a do-gooder streak, kind of.
Yeah.
And like when he was working security, he was the do it, just go get him kind of cop. So
he seems like he'd be easily radicalized by whoever has the strongest argument.
So my theory extends here as Detective Harlow is Daddy Skarsgård.
I like that. I think that's a pretty good.
It's probably not going to happen.
But still, I think that would be a really neat idea. He's like, "So you're gonna give me a pretty sweet gig, right?" And his mom's like, "At this point, we should just focus on finding whoever can tolerate your ass,
and get your toe in the door, and out of my house."
Passive aggressively pushes him the little dish of space gourds.
Like, "Here, you're too skinny. Have some food."
Yeah, she really is kind of like. There's something, I don't know what it is about her, but there's something just slightly sinister about her, where like you can tell she's like probably a helicopter mom. And has been like pushing him to do great things and all this other bullshit.
Yeah, I can see it.
So Cassian wakes up at the camp. As we know, they're spending 3 days in this like pre-op preparation for this thing that they're gonna do. And he notices his stuff is gone, and he freaks out immediately because he thinks maybe that kyber crystal he's been wearing is gone, but it's still there. He like takes it out and puts it around his neck, and he finds a member of the crew who is like outside with his shirt off. I think this is the longest we've ever seen a shirtless man in Star Wars, by the way.
Could be.
I don't know why it was so weird to me. It's just like I don't think I've ever seen this much nipple, even on a man in Star Wars. It was very strange. He's got a whole bunch of tattoos.
It was strange to me because like he clearly does some chest and core workout, but he skips arm day.
Yeah, he's scrawny in a weird way. Yeah. So this guy he's got all this stuff, all of his guns and shit, and he's like, I didn't steal anything. It's all here, but the boss asked me to have a look and see what you had, and
clean it out, make sure it's all in working order.
Yeah, and maybe she's having second thoughts about you because you're fucking sus is all I'm saying, and he's able to deduce that Cassian left wherever he came from in a hurry because he's like, you got a corporate issue blaster and your injured arm and Cassian notices one of the tattoos the guy has. It's like a barcode tattoo on his chest, and he the guy notices that he noticed, and it's like, you know what this is, and he's like, yeah, it's crate head, which like they don't expound on that.
I think it's a prison tattoo.
I think it is too, yeah, and then there was he
oh yeah, you like that tattoo? How about this one on my arm?
But also he makes a comment about how the squad, like, he's like, it's weird that you know what it is, no one else knows what it is. And then there's another tattoo and it means by the hand or something, and like Cassian clearly knows what it is, but they're playing kind of coy with it. I think it's going to be like a thing later on. I think we're to take it to their different kinds of detention centers,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
And they get around to this conversation where he says the axe forgets, but the tree remembers. Now it's time for us to do some chopping. So there's clearly something from his past where, there's a really obvious source of his admonition of the Empire, right? And they go a little bit later about that.
They also have a couple lines where Cassian mentions what prison he was in, and the other guy's like, I don't recognize that.
Yeah, right. As if anyone's surprised that the Empire just likes to lock people up.
Like
right?
The Empire has more prisons than people.
So he kind of exposits the rest of the team. It's not like one of the Suicide Squad, like, oh, here's the squad with the stylized names and shit. But
it's like there's the kid who's
there's
a true
Nimic,
believer,
right? Who's like, he's the youngest, but he's
super
drinking the Kool-Aid,
passionate,
right? Yeah. And then the other one, the really dark-haired lady is like stone cold fearless or whatever. They're both really young.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons. Like Cassian's like really surprised at how young they are. He looks at the team leader, and then the guy is like, "Yeah, she's already sharing a blanket with someone," and it was like, did you get the feeling that Cassian was looking at her like he wanted to bone her or something? And also, whoever is sharing her blanket is the one that wears the pants in that relationship because she's so fucking tough.
I think it's the two women, just from
some
of the body language and some of the way some of the shots are composed.
I would like that. There's also a moment between Cassian and the dark-haired girl where he's kind of like looking at her, like kind of they have this like interaction.
Maybe.
And talking about how like the Imperial lieutenant that they're working with, like he's the whole reason the plan exists, right? And if you're like, if for whatever reason you don't know, the plan is to go to this base, steal the Imperial payroll for the whole sector, and then escape in a meteor shower, which on paper sounds really fucking cool.
Also sounds really fucking dangerous.
Yeah, but I mean that's what they do.
Yeah.
Cassian says, "I just want to win and walk away," and the guy says, "Well, wouldn't that be lovely?" And it's really clear that he doesn't expect that all or any of them will be able to walk away, but I don't think he cares. Like it's more about the
fucking over the Empire,
right? Yeah. So, meanwhile, on Coruscant, the Mothmas sit down for a perfectly friendly and loving family breakfast, right? And it's so fucking awkward because I don't think they like each other very much.
So it's very clear that the Mothmas have fucked at least once because they
have a kid. Yeah, I don't think
they're currently fucking.
I don't think they are either. So in Legends, I don't think Mon Mothma has a daughter. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And her daughter's such a snotty nosed fucking teenager too. So Mon Mothma's like irritated that her husband doesn't know their new driver's name, and that might be one of those like just because he's like lower than us doesn't make him lower than us kind of thing. The daughter comes down for breakfast, and like, they immediately start sparring about their morning plans because like Mon Mothma wants to take her to school, I think,
or something.
Yeah, and she's like, you don't want to take me, you just want to see you want people to see you taking me, and it's all it's all about you. Everything's all about you. Fuck, I hate you, Mom. I'm going to my room.
Mom was like, well, that was very hurtful.
Yeah. She's trying to be so patient. By the way, she's just like, fucking kids. So her husband says nothing the entire time.
He's just sitting there drinking his tea.
Yep. Mon Mothma gives up. She's like, fuck it, take yourself to school, and like turns to her husband and was like, fuck you too for helping, and then like walks off. Right.
He's just like, see you later, honey.
Yeah. He raises his tea glass. I'm not getting late tonight. Goodbye, dear.
He hasn't gotten late in years.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Except maybe with Sly Moore.
Oh God, I don't need. Oh, I'm sure there's a porno of that somewhere, but still,
almost certainly.
Yeah, we'll write a fan fiction. So Nimic, the young freedom fighter, brings Cassian some Dre milk, and he's like, "Here, you drink this. It's like drinking bread. You can live on it, but you'll fucking hate it after a couple of days. But it tastes like shit, but it'll keep you alive." And Nimic pulls out this gizmo. It's like an old school analog navigator. Like it's off the grid. Like it's not connected to the internet. So like
it's an instant camera.
Yeah,
it's an instant camera. They gussied up.
Yeah, and so like it's kind of like that. Like you use a cell phone, like you're on the grid, like kind of thing. So Nimic is clearly an idealistic freedom fighter.
Sure,
He's for fuck's sake, Chris. He's writing a manifesto, right? And also, as with everyone ever who's ever written anything, they want everyone to read it, right? Yeah. And so he's like, "Do you want to read my manifesto?" And like,
Cassian's like, "I really do not."
Yeah,
there is nothing that I would like less than to read your manifesto.
And like, you can tell the other guys are just like, "Oh God, he's talking about his manifesto." But Cassian's
someone
like,
new to try to pitch his fucking manifesto.
Yeah. And like Cassian seems a little too impolite to be like, "No, I don't want to read your manifesto." So he like puts it in and says, "Oh," he's like, "Oh, look at this," and There's a line that he says, maybe he says a little bit later about the only thing separating men from liberty is words or something. Does that sound right? That might come up later.
Something like that, yeah.
So
like he was talking about like, I have my manifesto and I have the analog navigator, and like they're two pieces of technology. They both can lead you to freedom, but we've become so enslaved and entrenched in imperial technology that nobody knows how to use either of these anymore.
The internet's evil, man.
Yeah,
you're glued to your phone all day. I wonder if he likes it's probably in his manifesto, like no social media. So Cassian and the team leader discover a problem with the plan regarding the weight of the ship that they're stealing, because
or like it's docked on this rail that won't let it take off unless you have released from it.
The point is that the team has no idea what they're doing with this part of the plan, and they're just like, we'll wing it. And he's like,
Cassian's like, what the you don't know?
Yeah, you can't. This is not.
How?
Yeah, this is out of all of the things in this plan that you can wing. This is the one thing you can't.
Because we need the getaway vehicle to get away.
Right. And so
he's like, all right, fuck it.
Yeah,
I'm flying the ship.
I'm gonna drive.
You guys can do anything else, but I'm driving.
Yeah. Because I would very much like to not die, so I'll take care of this. And he's like, "Look, I don't care. Tell him it was your idea, but I'm gonna drive. I'm driving the ship." And they're like, "Okay, we just wanted you to tell us how to figure out where the weight was, but whatever." So there's a really neat moment where Cassian discovers that their encampment is built to represent the scale of the area that they're attacking.
Yeah.
And so like the mountains represent these things, and like their sheep pen is so many paces away from.
He's being walked through this by one of the freedom fighters.
Right.
Like there's the thing, and here's the site.
Right. And they've got it all measured out so that they can actually practice. And this is a really good moment to talk about the tone of this episode, because it is winding the tension slowly the entire time. The freedom fighters obviously have an immense sense of conviction, and they would die to make this happen and everything, and they don't seem like they expect to live necessarily. And it's like if you were to ask them, I bet they'd be like, if we win and we get the money, that's a bonus. Or we can kill as many Imperials as possible, and just do it that way. So Cassian is going to be Imperial Private Clem. That's going to be his job, right? And his backstory is he's a sentry from the Alkenzi Air Base, and he's transferred on special duty. And by the way, Cassian does not like to be touched. We've discovered because the guy's like,
straighten your shoulders.
Yeah, he's like,
Cassian's like, don't fucking touch me. I'll kill you.
Yeah, he does not like being messed with generally. So he's like, I've seen soldiers move, and I can figure that out.
I can fucking march.
Right. So meanwhile, on Ferrix, which is where the whole story started, right? Asshole ISB agent. I can't remember his name.
Lieutenant, what's his name?
Yeah. He's watching as people are cleaning up the wreckage from the last conflict. And he's talking to this other officer, and he's like, look at this fucking building. Do you like this building for headquarters? And he's like, yeah, can I be the prefect? And he's like, I don't give a fuck if you're put on a dress. I don't fucking care.
First of all, prefect, what is this, Harry Potter?
Right. Yeah.
Second of all, whatever, just do your fucking job.
He's like, as long as you get this shit up and running and I look good to my boss, then you can be the emperor for all I give a damn. Which is the perfect commentary on the Empire, by the way. Yeah. Just make me look good to the guy that's above me, and then everything will be fine.
The first rule of bureaucracy, thou shalt not embarrass thy boss.
Right, exactly. So Cassian has marching band practice with the squad, right? And so they're like in a little like formation, and they're marching.
They got their guns.
Yeah, I noticed immediately because I have done marching band before that their guns aren't uniform.
Yeah, they're all using different guns.
Yeah, and they're like pointing in different ways and stuff. And Cassian apparently has this magical power where he can tell what dominant hand you are.
I mean, it's kind of obvious. Like if you watch someone enough, you can kind of tell.
Yeah. Well, he reads them in pretty like the one guy. He's like, yeah, he's right-handed, but he shoots left-handed, which is kind of like that's kind of a good read.
That was impressive. Like the others, like the four guys with guns, it's really easy to tell because they put their dominant hand on the trigger.
Yeah, and he's like, we need to switch some spots. Otherwise, we're not going to match. Like, this is not going to look good, it's not going to make sense. So, and they're like, fine, whatever. Like, we'll whatever.
We'll do it your way, Clem.
Suddenly, there's a TIE fighter in the distance, and they scramble to cover their guns and shit, and the TIE like flies right past them.
Zoom.
He looks like he's gonna run into him.
Yeah.
Like that pilot was flying around and saw a group of people. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna scare the fuck out of those guys, and like yeah. So, and Nimic does not. He's like, yeah, fuck those guys. He says something about surprise from above is never more effective than a surprise from below. And I think that he means that like a lot more philosophically. I think 100%. Not about being the big guy.
Like he wasn't expecting Ewoks to pop out of
right.
the floor
Exactly.
Like
it's about it's about the little guy coming up and kicking ass and everything. So, Imperial friend, who's it's
Lieutenant Gore or whatever.
Yeah, the guy that's a part of the Freedom Fighters. He's walking on top of this dam, and he notices like a guy slacking off, and like he walks up to him and he straightens up, and they talk about the rumors of the Empire coming in and tearing the landscape down.
Like they're on top of the garrison that the Freedom Fighters are robbing.
Right. And yeah, they talk about how they're gonna tear everything down and make an air base and. And they also discuss the dwindling amount of people making the pilgrimage for the shooting star phenomenon and everything. And this guy that he's with, this corporal, is a huge asshole and starts.
He's racist, which is very stereotypical for the Imperials.
Right. And he's talking about like how the locals smell bad, and you can tell like the Imperial Freedom Fighter guy is like just barely able to hide his contempt for him. He's like, I thought he might just knife him in the neck right there. But he plays his part really well, and and he's like, well, next time I come up here, if you're looking over the edge, I'm gonna kick you in the ass. Don't do that. So back at the camp, a couple of guys. Wait, what? Oh yeah. So back at the camp, a couple of the guys unearth a hidden chest, which I think has a uniform in it or something.
Or communications gear.
Yeah, something. Cassian and the girls practice the language that he had to learn that one night. And so like practicing and stuff. Cassian does not like to have his stuff touched, as we find out again. And like the one guy like goes to move his bag and he just freaks the fuck out, which to be fair to the other guys probably seems really suspicious. Like if I came over to your house and I had a bag and you like bumped your leg up against it and I was like, stop it, give me that. You'd be like, what the fuck is in that bag? So
are you selling drugs?
Yeah, right. So I kind of like I think it's kind of interesting that there's still like that episode where it's the episode where all the scenes with Casa as a kid, like that wild crazy haired kid.
Yeah.
it's interesting to me that Diego Luna plays him in a way where he still has a bit of that in him, where he's just kind of like brash and flies off the handle and is kind of volatile like that kid was. He hangs the Kyber around his neck, and then he starts getting dressed as his soldier thing, right? Meanwhile, at ISB headquarters, Deidre passes ISB agent asshole in the hall, and they're talking about budgets and speeches, and he's surrounded by his lackeys and brown nosers and shit.
Because he's running 6 fucking sectors.
Yeah,
right.
He's a very important man. Yeah. And like she passes him and like looks back at him. She's like, oh god,
this fucking guy.
That guy. Yeah. So she gets to her office, and she and her assistant are trying to find
her one assistant.
Yeah, right. They're trying to find missing components on Hosnian Prime, which is a neat little callback because that ends up being the capital of the New Republic that Starkiller Base takes out. But he's like, I don't know. They haven't mislabeled a component in 12 quarters, and they need our contract, and
the Imperial Navy is the only one that does business with
right.
them.
And she's like, maybe there's a secret ledger, and he's like, maybe there's not. You know that, so let's stop fucking around. And they discuss her hunch that there's an armed rebellion growing, right?
Specifically stealing
right.
components from all these places.
Right. Yeah, they mention Kessel and Fondor, the targeting consoles from Jakku, proton warheads from Base K.
Why does everyone want to go to Jakku?
Exactly. And the Starpath unit from Steerguard.
Mm-hmm. Her
assistant gives her like a pep talk because she's clearly onto something, and he's like,
"It's too random to be random."
Right. Which, I have that in my notes. Hold on. So she thinks that maybe it is too disorganized to be anything real, and he's like, "Girl, you know that's bullshit." And she was like, "If I was them, that's exactly how I'd do it. I'd spread it out, and I'd never climb the same tree twice or the same fence twice." Yeah. And he says, it's too random to be random. And I have my notes. The assistant is adorable, but clearly doesn't know what random means. Nothing can be too random to be random.
Well,
that's just a math
joke. He has a point. Like, if you never hit the same place twice, that's not random, because if you were picking randomly, sometimes you would go back to the same place.
Even, I will say, if we're gonna get into the nerdy math stuff, the never, if you were to plot all the fences that were only climbed once would make a pattern and would not indeed be random. Yeah. So it's, but the point is that he's like, girl, you know that there's something going on here. So, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep at it, because you're fucking genius. I imagine that he's like her like gay best friends.
I was gonna say, you're playing him as the sassy
I know,
friend, and I'm here for it.
He kind of is like, he's like, you go, girl, you know what you're doing. Yeah. So back at the camp, they burned poor Nimic's not to scale model of the operation. I felt so bad for him.
That hurts a little bit.
And I remember, that I'm a huge fan of Adam Savage, who worked at ILM for a long time. He built all of Camino, pretty much. And I remember him talking about a thing about how, like, when model makers make stuff that they know is going to get blown up, they're never sad when it's blown up because
it has achieved its purpose.
Yeah, exactly. And how that's the most exciting moment of that prop's life is when it gets blown up and everything. I don't think he thought that they were going to burn it, so he just like kind of skulks a little bit.
I mean, you gotta get rid of evidence,
right?
So
yeah, and they have like this. It's I wouldn't even call it a ritual, but they have a moment while this stuff is burning, and they're like, "Stay focused, Clem. Do the rebellion," and they move out the next morning.
Yeah, and they like let their space sheep go.
Yeah, in my notes in all caps, I said, "Who is going to take care of their sheep?"
They're wild animals.
Yeah,
There's plenty of grass.
They'll be okay. So the next morning, Deputy Tryhard, for the artist formerly known as Deputy Tryhard, Cyril, has another insufferable breakfast with his insufferable mother. Okay. And she's like, okay, turns out Uncle Harlow never felt police work was your chosen path. And he's like, oh, great. Well, what is my chosen path? And she's like, he has no idea. He's gonna think about it. And like, this relationship is so strange. And I mentioned this earlier, like the way that Cyril ended up knowing what I know about his mother, it makes so much sense that he's just kind of weird and like has this like compulsive need to do like to be recognized and do the right thing and everything. So the Freedom Fighter crew walks to their operation, and like along the way they're like quizzing each other on details, and and Cassian asks about the Imperial officer that's a part of their group and that they're working with, and she's like, okay, here's the deal with him. Basically, he had a woman that he liked. He wanted her to get promoted. She didn't get promoted. And then they didn't work out. Now he hates the Empire.
I thought it was a local woman.
Maybe it was, but he wanted her to get like some kind of promotion so that they could like be together.
I don't think that was that. I think it was that like he had a local lover, and then like the Empire killed her, and now he hates the Empire.
Maybe I wasn't paying enough attention. I thought that she was like, I just thought that they didn't like work out or something. Anyway, it seems kind of pedestrian, right? That he's like, his reason for the Empire is that like he didn't get the girl, which, you know, she says everyone has their own rebellion. So if that's enough to get you to get against the Empire, then whatever. So good guy Imperial makes a visit to the vault where the payroll is being held. And he has this moment of insanely masterful manipulation where he like, he like walks up there and he's like, why the fuck isn't that gantry painted? And the two guys are like, you don't like painting gantries. and he's like, well, you're going to be painting it tonight, motherfuckers. And
they're
like,
painting it during the fucking once every 3 years meteor shower.
And the two guys are like, oh, look, this place fucking sucks. And the only thing we have to look forward to doing this job on this stupid fucking planet is this meteor shower that happens every 3 years or whatever. Yeah. So like, because morale. You should, you know, maybe we'll do the gantry tomorrow. And he's very grudgingly is like, fine, but you better paint that motherfucker tomorrow night. And they're like, yes. And then he walks away with this fucking slight smile. Yeah. Like I just played those guys like a fucking fiddle. And so now the outcome is that the vault is going to be mostly empty during the thing, right? All right, conflict time for the crew. Skeen, the shirtless kind of scrappy guy, holds a knife on Cassian and takes his kyber crystal. And he's like, I don't get, like, look, something's up with you. This thing is worth like 1 billion credits. Like, why the fuck would you bring?
He specifically says 30,000.
Yeah, when I was rounding up, but yeah.
Skarsgård said, don't take less than 50,000 for it.
Right.
Which kind of tells you that Skeen doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about in this case.
Yeah, either that or Daddy Skarsgård's just like massively overvaluing it.
Yeah, maybe.
So he's like, why would you bring a treasure to a robbery? Like, we don't know who you are. You're fucking sketchy. And like Cassian's about to draw on him and just like fucking shoot him down, right? And everyone's like starting to get real tense. And like the leader's like, everybody calm down.
So he's just like, look, everybody just take a deep breath. Put your weapons away.
I like
let's not do this.
The one guy's like, oh, look, there's a transport in the valley. And everyone kind of relaxes. He's like, oh, never mind, it's going. And like everyone is like takes a breath, you know. And they kind of go back to pretending like nothing is wrong. And Cassian is like, all right, fuck it. Look, I'm being paid to be here. Fucking kill me. That's my deal. I'm getting paid to be here. And you're going to have to fucking deal with it because what you're doing is insane. And it's not unreasonable to ask to be paid for this amount of insanity that we're about to try to do. And of course they don't respect this because they're not doing it for money. They don't give a fuck. They all have their
own passion.
Right.
They're here for a reason.
Right. So like the crew is real pissed off. They seem the most pissed off that they weren't told. Like they're mad about him being paid, but they're like, this is real fucked up that we didn't know about this. Right. But they're going to deal with it. On Coruscant.
He also says before, like, look, you're all very obviously afraid, like you're scared to do what we're about to be doing, which is reasonable. But there's a line between like being scared and then wanting to turn tail and run.
Right.
And
losing your nerve. He said the difference between fear and losing your nerve.
If you're at the point of losing your nerve, that's fine. You can all just go home, but fucking do it yourself. Don't blame it on me.
Right. Let's catch up on our chat real quick. Jimmy says, we know from the trailer Bail Organa shows up at some point. It would be funny if Jar Jar shows up because we know he's the reason Palp's got power. I don't think Jar Jar's in the capital anymore. I think he's back on Naboo. Jimmy says his mom should have. Oh, this is so small. His mom should have been like, son, you're almost 40. You really need to get yourself a girl and move out of my house. She seemed kind of happy that he was back. Like I don't know. Their relationship is very weird.
She has someone to nag now.
Yeah.
Right?
Also, I don't remember seeing Bail Organa in the trailer material.
I don't remember either, but I might have forgotten.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway. So on Coruscant, Mon Mothma and her husband, they're riding
on their way back from some.
I thought they were on their way to or back from somewhere.
She was taking off her earrings.
Oh, okay.
They're on the way back.
Okay. And they're having this weird conversation.
It's weird passive aggressive.
Yeah, they like
Why
do they like each other? I don't understand. Like, I don't know. Maybe this is what it's like to be married.
I feel like they're like that they must have had some passion and strong feelings for each other when they were younger, but
or they got drunk and had a kid, and it was like, we're politicians. I guess we're married now.
What I'm thinking is that like it's a combination of like inertia. Mon Mothma doesn't want to get divorced because that'll be a big scandal, and she's a politician, and that's
the Palpatine's probably really because he's like Catholic or something. Yeah. He's probably against divorce.
And the thing is that like
that's offensive. Palpatine's not Catholic, I don't think. I'm just putting that out there.
I think you knocked me off my train of thought.
No.
Just continue.
Yeah. So he's mad that like he's like, why didn't you tell me about the new foundation that we were doing tonight? Yeah. And she's like, I didn't think you'd be interested. It's charitable. And it's like, damn, like Jesus, sharp words.
I remember what I was gonna say now. That they just sort of fell out of love. It's like that thing where like
you just kind of grow apart, you know?
Yeah. Like the person's personality traits that attracted you to them slowly become annoying and grind on you.
Yeah, I get. Yeah. So the husband's like, I'm going to play nice, and he asks her for the driver's name, and then uses his name when he asks the driver to use the expressway.
Can you get us home really fucking fast so I don't have to be locked in the car with this psycho?
And in my notes, I have this relationship is so weird, but also what does he know? Is she compartmentalizing him completely from what she's doing?
I think he doesn't know anything about the rebellion.
I think that's my first thought is I don't think he knows anything, or he knows a little bit and is going to end up like telling on her.
At the very least, she has not told him anything.
Right. Yeah. So the artist formerly known as Deputy Tryhard, again is hold on, I skipped that. Sorry. The crew arrive at their final camp near the dam, which is it's not actually it's really a dam in real life, but it's I think it's a garrison or something.
Yeah, it's the garrison.
Yeah. Cassian notes that it looks just like the model, and the kid that built the model is like, I know, it's really really proud of that. So
he's been here for like 5 years, been able to make it perfect.
Yeah, he's like, we've been syncing up here for months, and like I've made all drawings and shit. I've had lots of practice, and their leader mentions that they need to build a fire for a signal, and then Cyril laments again at his mom's house. He's like in his room, like his childhood room. He like pulls out the hologram of Cassian and like touches his cheek and is like, oh.
This is why I'm not sure he's gonna end up in the rebellion, because like he seems to be holding a grudge against Cassian.
I really still think that there's a good chance that he goes full Inspector Javert on him, where it's like the white whale thing. Yeah. That's two different Les Mis and Hemingway or whatever white whale reference.
Yes, I know who you're
Moby Dick. Yes. So good guy Imperial watches the horizon with binoculars and he sees the signal fire. Right, so they're like waving the fire around.
All right, cool, showtime.
Yeah. Skeen walks over to Cassian and he's like, okay, they want me to tell you about my brother, so I'm gonna fucking tell you about my brother. He died. He was a pepper tree farmer, an Imperial prefect. I don't know what the fuck prefects are now. We have them, but he took over his land, he flooded it, and then my brother killed himself. And he's talking about how like he can't even
see. What he says is that he filled a boat with stones. I took that to mean like he floated the boat out and like started throwing rocks at the Imperials, at, like one of their ships or something, and then got shot.
Oh, I took it as like suicide.
Could be that.
Yeah. Put it in the chat. Put your thoughts in the chat. And like he can't even find a way to describe the rage he feels about the Empire. Yeah. Like he doesn't know how to articulate it. And he tells Cassian, he's like, that's as close to an apology as you were ever going to get for me holding a knife to your throat and stealing your little crystal. Yeah. And Cassian's like, you know what? It's close enough. And this is where the group splits up. The two ladies go off on their own, and then she's like, this fucking guy's in charge. Listen to him. Yeah. So on Coruscant.
There's a shot when they're all like standing there looking at the fire. One of the freedom fighters hands Cassian a canteen. He takes a drink. He hands it to the dark-haired lady, and then the leader lady like steps in between Cassian and the dark-haired lady and intercepts the canteen. And that's one of the things that makes me think the two women are together.
Maybe the part that I talked about earlier about him kind of like they have an interaction happens before that. So maybe that's true, and she saw it. And she's like, you're not moving in. You're not moving in on this. Yeah. We might die tomorrow. This is not happening. So, so they split up. On Coruscant, Daddy Skarsgård is checking this like old radio receiver that he's got in the back room.
It's a space radio.
Yeah, and it's like a ham radio. He's like turning the dial and shit. And his shop assistant, or it's either that or his daughter, or like someone, whoever his like partner is, right? She's like, look, nothing else is going to come through tonight. You're being nervous and being crazy. Direct that energy and go clean some fucking coins. And he's like, I don't want to clean the coins. I want to listen to the radio. And she's like, do what I said. And he's like, okay, fine. So he's like
she's definitely the one who wears the pants here.
Yeah. So he's really nervous about the upcoming thing. And he's like, is your runaway pack ready to go? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, well, what about the backup runaway pack? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, well, what about the backup to the backup runaway pack? And she's like,
will you just dust some fucking coins?
Yeah.
It's all going to be over this time tomorrow.
Smoke a bowl. And by this time tomorrow, everything will be good to go. And he's like, or it'll just be starting. And so he shuts the shop down, and then the episode ends. Yeah. Now, I was thinking that we were going to get the big operation in this episode.
Nope, that's going to be next time.
Yeah, which I don't mind that it was another expositional kind of a thing. I really
because it's going to make it hurt even more when people start dying.
Yeah. Exactly. I think that's the whole reason they're doing it. I think we can expect heavy losses from the group and everything. I appreciate being able to live in the universe a little bit longer and understand everyone's, the reason everyone's doing what they do and everything. I don't think that there are a ton of Easter eggs in this one. Like we talked about the planets that they mentioned, Jakku and Fondor and Hosnian and Prime and in that last shot of Daddy Skarsgård, you see the shelf with the Jedi holocron on it. But his shop is just chock full of shit, Yeah. So, let me see if we got any more in the chat. Oh Jesus. Do you think we will see some bounty hunters go after Andor and the crew, Boba Fett or Bosk? Maybe cool to see.
I think one of the possible outcomes for former Detective Tryhard is that he becomes a bounty hunter and starts tracking down Cassian.
Yeah, I really think that they are trying to shy away from any big names.
Yeah. I mean, outside of Mon Mothma.
You're right, which isn't really that big of a name, honestly. Like, she's important, but it's not like, a fan favorite Boba Fett or Vader or anything. Because I remember the showrunner being like, we don't want to be propped up on fan service. Like, we want to make a good story with good characters and that stands on its own. That doesn't rely on the entire middle of the season being a Luke Skywalker feature and that propping the show up.
All of which I agree with. Expand the universe. Yeah. Give us new characters.
Yeah, like I'm okay that there's no baby Luke Skywalker in this, or that there's no anything else. I would love to see Bail Organa because I fucking love Jimmy Smits. I love him as an actor. I think we need to see more civilians speak out against the Empire. I'm sure many planets preferred the Jedi over the Empire. At least the Jedi didn't ruin lives. Makes you wonder why so many people are okay and believe Palp's lies about the Jedi.
So number one, the Jedi were never in charge of the Republic. Yeah. That's very important. The Jedi were never in charge of the Republic. It was always the Senate. Number two, this is a time when it is very, very dangerous to speak out against the Empire because you might just
It's a fascist government. Yeah. I mean, it's easy for them just to be like, fuck you, you're dead, and just kill you. The other thing, too, is that people... We know that there are loyalists to the Jedi throughout the universe. Yeah.
The fucking first shot of Force Awakens, that old dude who gives Poe.
Right, yeah, Max von Sydow's character. Yeah, those are the Church of the Force guys. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, people don't understand the Jedi any more than they understand the Sith.
There was one Jedi for every planet in the Republic? Not even that.
No, there were 10,000 Jedi. I think that there are a lot more than 10,000 planets. So, yeah.
So most people in the galaxy, and we're talking about like 99.999%, have never seen a Jedi.
And they certainly barely, they don't know the difference. But so they're like, oh, a Sith took over the government.
Oh, fucking Darth Vader showed up and killed a bunch of people. He has a fucking lightsaber. Yeah. He's a Jedi.
Yeah, they're like, how do we tell the difference between a Jedi and a Sith? And they're like, one is good. They both have lightsabers, and they're both terrifying. One side steals children.
The other side just kind of kills them?
Yeah, they're both bad guys. I don't know. And so I don't think people... And the other thing too is that some years have passed since Palpatine's seizure of the government, and the memory of the Jedi is fading quite a bit too. Because remember, Palpatine is very focused on obliterating the entire legacy. Right? He's erasing every little piece of information about the Jedi, because to him that is the most complete way of destroying the Jedi, is removing them from history and having no one remember them and everything. That's why when Luke returns as a Jedi later on, it's such a big fucking deal. So I don't think it's so much that there are people that are loyal to the Jedi, is it that there are people who are like, the Empire fucking sucks.
Yeah, the Empire killed my lover, killed my brother, whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we do not have enough time to do.
No, absolutely not.
Let's talk about. Let's do.
She-Hulk?
Let's talk about She-Hulk real quick.
So She-Hulk.
Spoilers for She-Hulk, by the way, if anyone's watching it. Yeah.
You posted this on Facebook like immediately after the episode went up, but the basic arc of this episode is that Jen goes on a couple dates with the guy she met at the wedding, and then they sleep together, and then he ghosts her, and she's feeling really shitty about that.
Yeah.
And, like, obsessively checking her phone every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And
that was the last one, right?
Yeah.
That was a really sweet episode.
Yeah.
Because
so first of all, ghosting, like, if you go on a date with someone and it's just not working out, don't ghost them. Just say, hey, I don't think it's working out. See you around.
It's a real shitty, passive aggressive, non-adult thing to do.
Yeah.
And having been ghosted before, it's like, oh, fuck you.
Yeah. It's awful.
However, her going to Emil Zablonsky, whatever his name is, the Abomination's like sex den, therapy,
spiritual retreat.
I don't know. I will tell you, Tim Roth is a fucking national treasure, and I love him so much. And he's always he's in this really great show called Lie to Me from a while ago, where he plays this body language expert. And he's just got this like swagger about him, where he's just like he looks like he maybe doesn't know where he is at any given point in time. And he's got this chicken he really likes, and he's got these guys that are hanging out with him that he's like treating or whatever.
Yeah, he has this therapy circle of like super people.
Yeah, one of them is a bull man.
A bull man, and there's like a kind of matador.
And they're fucking, right?
Maybe.
I think they are.
Kind of.
I think
maybe.
because they keep hinting at their like codependence and everything. I think that they're probably sleeping with each other.
They have a guy who thinks he's a vampire.
He's fucking hilarious. Yeah.
They have the porcupine
who is also a hilarious. Yeah.
And then like Jen walks into this therapy circle. She's just trying to find signals so she can keep obsessively texting.
Yeah.
And then who walks in but one of the guys who jumped her with the fucking Asgardian tools.
Yeah.
So she hulks out and starts trying to punch him, and eventually she gets pulled into the therapy circle, and they're like, so what's the deal?
Very
with Jen?
grudgingly, by the way. She's like, this is so fucking stupid.
But she opens up and she's like, yeah, I got ghosted and it feels really shitty. And they're like, yeah, so maybe you should like stop hulking out, just be Jen for a while, and also delete that guy's number because he's a jackass.
Yes. And also like we're fine with Jen.
Yeah.
Like there's no, I think it's really heartbreaking when she says, that friend from high school who's more athletic and better looking and everything, like that's She-Hulk for me. And like, why wouldn't you want to be that all the time? But the thing is, I don't want to be that all the time because I like who I am. Mm-hmm. And it's this really nice moment where like they spend the whole therapy session pretty much just empowering her.
Yeah.
It being like, we're all fucking weird. We think you're awesome. Like you fit right in. Like you're a great person. You're fun to talk to.
Like
and
the whole scene kind of embodies that trope of like physically invulnerable, because like what can beat up a Hulk,
right?
But like emotionally very raw and vulnerable.
Yeah, especially in her state, being rejected by a guy that she like the thing
she
that
really liked.
Yeah, the thing that made it hurt so much was that he really played the part where he liked Jen, and we learned that it was all a manipulation. He copies her cell phone data and
apparently he got a blood sample,
right, or a DNA sample. Don't want to know.
Something.
Yeah.
So he was working with the intelligentsia people.
Yeah, and so there's that whole thing that's happening, and I think that's just how it ends, right? Yeah. It's just the whole thing happens on the Abomination's like therapy retreat and everything.
With chickens running around.
Yeah, it's just it was. I thought it was a really fun episode. Every one of these episodes of She-Hulk has made me smile because it's like I don't know.
It's a brilliant show. It might be my favorite of the Marvel Disney Plus shows.
I think it might be mine as well. I think because I'm
partially just because it's so different from the usual explosions and punching people.
Yeah, and I really like. I know that. Look, there's a population of people who are never gonna like anything with a woman as a lead, and
fuck them.
Yeah,
Who cares?
Right. I can't be bothered to even argue with them anymore, honestly. But the thing is that it's really refreshing to see it, and all the things that people are bitching, because that's the reason they don't like it, but they've got to have all these other reasons. They're like, oh, it's bad, right?
Yeah.
She keeps breaking the fourth wall, and it's like, those are the funniest parts of the episode. Like it's
number one, number two, like that's what the character does in the comics.
Yeah.
Like that is who the character is.
And also I'm sorry, your opinion about it being poorly written is invalid because the person that's in charge of this is the person that wrote the Pickle Rick episode in Rick and Morty. And I'm sorry, you can't accuse them of being bad at what they do. They're fucking brilliant. So fuck off with all that bullshit. I do. I think it's been fantastic. And like I said, every one of the episodes has made me smile. And I know everyone's kind of like jonesing for their like Daredevil moment, right? Because I think
they have 2 episodes left.
Yeah, and we know from the Daredevil's in one of the trailers.
Daredevil's going to show up.
Yeah.
I have a feeling this is going to be a 2-part finale where like she deals with the intelligentsia people and Daredevil's helping her somehow.
Yeah. Jimmy says, I think after Jedi Luke is the only Jedi still alive, and Ahsoka could be others. I don't know. And Ezra too.
Ahsoka is definitely alive at that point because she gets with.
Yeah, they hang out.
Yeah,
we know they hang out. And
well, I guess that depends if you consider Ahsoka a Jedi or not.
I absolutely do. Because I know
does Ahsoka consider herself a Jedi?
I think she does. Absolutely, I think she does. And I think that when she leaves the Jedi, I think her line of thought is they aren't the Jedi anymore. That's the whole reason I'm leaving.
I didn't leave; they left me.
Exactly, and I think that because look, we've talked about this before. There's no such thing as a gray Jedi. It's an incompatible idea with the lore. She dedicates her entire life to the service of others and protecting the people who can't protect themselves. Possibly the most Jedi thing you could possibly do, and. I mean, she hangs out with Luke Skywalker, and we don't know about Ezra. They're going to answer the question about Ezra, I think, in Ahsoka.
I mean, that's the central question of Ahsoka, right?
Yeah, I think by the time that Jedi is, or by the time that Luke is a fully fledged Jedi, there aren't many of them left. It might just be Ahsoka and Ezra. I mean, in Legends they had Joruus C'baoth, but he was a clone of a Jedi and he was evil and crazy, so he didn't even really count. So I just don't think there are many of them left. I mean, the Emperor did his fucking job. He did exactly what he said he was going to do.
Vader and the Inquisitors did a very good job.
Yeah. So all right, we're going to reset here. Get ready for our Battlefront stream. So join us here in a few minutes.
You see Max Level Palpatine.
Yes, that will happen tonight. Exciting. Yep, and we'll also talk about House of the Dragon because what a fucking banger episode that was.
Banger, I hardly know her.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you're a Targaryen, then not only do you know her, but she's your fucking sister. All right.
Emphasis on fucking.
Yeah, exactly. So see you guys here in a few minutes.